What are cryptocurrencies?
Hey, hey, hey.
What are NFTs?
A non-fungible token.
Time to buy Bitcoin.
Bitcoin just seems like a scam. What's up? Bitcoin!
Hello everyone, welcome back to On The Ledger. This is your host Moel Sayed and I'm back once again on your weekly rendezvous from Paris. Today we'll be discussing memories in the form of tokens. If you think about it, the places we go to and experiences we live are a big part of our lives and identities. And this is why we love to capture them. We have been collecting memories in the form of tickets, clothings, and goodies for decades. But there's one NFT player that's changing the game in terms of value, visibility, and utility. Yes, we are of course talking about the Proof of Attendance Protocol, aka POAP. Those nice little tokens that everyone's after. The protocol garnered an insane amount of adoption in 2021 through the likes of brands and events who offer them to their ever-increasing communities of crypto enthusiasts. Nowadays, a Web3 event without a POAP is not a Web3 event. And since POAP is now available in Ledger Live, we thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to dive into its past, present, and future with Lucas Verra, head of POAP France. Lucas, welcome to On The Ledger. It's great to chat with you once again. How's it going?
Hey man, thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be here on this super premium podcast that I hear every week. And I'm glad that I've had the chance to explain a bit of what I'm doing and to connect with the Ledger community. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, man. We're big fans of POAP, so we're very excited for this one. Let's dive in. On The Ledger, Season 2, Ledger meets POAP. Here we go. So, Lucas, let's start from the beginning. If someone is listening to this podcast and has no idea what POAP is, how would you explain it to them?
Okay, well, POAP means Proof of Attendance Protocol, and it's a smart, fun NFT that is given to you as a collector in order to prove that you have been somewhere at some times, right? So you can imagine marriages, birthdays, and even NFT conferences. Everything works. The idea is for the organizer to do this drop in order to give to the attendees of the event. That's the basic aspect of it. And of course, what we try to do is to have these NFT that represent a memory. So some form of artwork and sub-description that would allow the collector to see its POAP afterwards in time and remember that moment with a smile.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's because, whenever we go to a certain place, whether it be a conference or an event, we always like to take a memory away with us. And the fact that this is now digitized gives it, basically life expectancy that is, basically it doesn't even end, you can't tear it, away, you can't lose it. And it's basically on the blockchain forever. But maybe you can walk us through the different steps of acquiring a POAP, because there is this link between the physical and the digital. How does that work?
So I will, for this conversation or for this answer, I will take the stand as a collector.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, assume that I have my ledger and that I go to an event. So in this case, let's talk as for example NFT Paris. So the organizer of that event would propose a POAP for the attendees of the event, and myself, in general, I just have to receive an email and click on a link or scan a QR code, and I would just have to input my Ethereum address, the OX or the ENS address work as well, or even your email, but we'll talk about later about that in with the mainstream aspect of it. But you just have to input your Ethereum address and you will be free to go. You will receive your free NFT, and that's just it. So any MetaMask, any Rainbow Wallet or Ledger Wallet works. It only requires of you to understand and to know your Ethereum address, and that's pretty much it.
So
easy.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty seamless. And, talking about the fact that anyone can collect a POAP at any given event, we're talking about the fact that it's an NFT, so most people think, NFTs are valuable. and need to be protected. But in terms of the value that you derive from a certain POAP, in your opinion, there's the memory value, but what else do you see there, from the reason behind why people would collect such tokens?
Yes, of course. So at POAP, we try to not focalize on the intrinsic, financial value to be exchange or Ethereum value. We think much more of the social and memory value of it. And so, and therefore, that's why we think of the utility of POAP, of what the issuer wants to give it, right? As we just said, that the collector doesn't have to think about gas prices nor have to pay for the POAP. Then why should they collect? Well, of course, it's the crystallization of that memory, that fun artwork, and the description that will forever live in the blockchain that you can see for yourself while you preserve your keys, and that no corporation will be allowed to remove it from you. But then the utility goes on many aspects, many levels. We've seen partners that have done raffles based on a quantity of POAPs that have been collected. We've seen people, other partners, that give entrance to other events, specific special premium events based on the fact that you have collected a POAP previously. And we've seen also other NFT projects that use previously handed POAP as a whitelist in order to pre-mint or mint beforehand the true or real collection, the one that involves gas fees and that is much more complicated. So those are some form of utility, and there is much more to be discovered with the usage, with the mainstreamization of POAP, namely some form of identity, and being able to curate and to show that you are some form of fan because you collect these tickets from a music event or a conference event and so on.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. And when you think about it, the wallet does become, kind of a showcase of everything you own, meaning that it's also showcasing all the experiences that you've, lived, or the things that you bought into in terms of the things you believe in, or, even your interests in terms of aesthetic interests of art. When you think about POAPs specifically, they're probably one of the easiest on-ramps into this world of identity formation, digital identity formation on the blockchain, since you were explaining that the onboarding is so easy. But there is one point that you mentioned that I would like you to dive into. It's the gas fees point. So you mentioned that there are two options, one with gas fees and one without. And obviously for newbies to kind of onboard into this world, having a frictionless experience without gas fees is kind of the most easy on-ramp. Could you maybe distinguish both of them and explain how they function?
Of course. So to be clear, whenever we're talking about POAP, there is no gas fees. We're talking about POAP being the entry to another collection. So every time someone collects a POAP, as we said beforehand, they just have to enter the Ethereum address and it will just work. But for the newbies here that want to dive in the NFT world besides POAP, as POAP is an entrance gate, what we can say is that sadly not everything is as clean, frictionless, fun, and simple as POAP. But whenever after collecting some POAP, maybe they will be allowed to be whitelisted in some collection. If you do some research, you will see that big brands have used POAP as whitelisting. And the fact is, whenever they got whitelisted, then after that, they will have the right beforehand to mint an NFT from a collection. And what does that mean is that their wallet, besides having free POAPs, they will have to have non-free ethers that will have to buy by themselves with a credit card, with a transaction that's from there to check. And with that asset, then being able to buy the NFT. Let's assume I'm doing right now the Lucas collection, which I'm not. Lucas collection has 2 NFTs, and I would say, okay, Mo, as you have been into NFT Paris and you have the NFT Paris POAP, I will allow you to mint beforehand, before everyone else, one of the two NFTs that is Lucas collection. Those NFTs, as Luca any one of those NFTs is worth 1 Ether each, or let's say even less. Let's say 0.1 Ether each. So in order for you to have it, even if you have to have that 0.1 Ether into your wallet, so you need to acquire that, and then after that you need to pay the transaction fee to the Ethereum blockchain, which is, I don't know today, but let's assume $50 would be fairly to say it is. So basically, what you as a collector need to understand is that not only you need to acquire yourself some Ether, but then in order to buy my collection, you need to buy the NFT and then pay the gas prices, the gas fees. So as I just explained it, it is complicated. Imagine having to explain someone they have to pay to send an email. Makes no sense at all. And that's why I'm such a fan of the project. I've been a fan of POAP since the early beginnings in 2018. POAP has many years now, and it's one of the OGs project in this fair. But it's also because it's so easy and fun to interact with it, right? So I'm still bonkers about gas fees. I hate them, but it's the price to pay to participate in this innovation chain. And but it's a pain. It's a pain to explain. It's a pain as an experience, and so that's why POAP is so different.
So let me recap what you just said. So what you just said is once a collector claims a POAP, he claims it on another chain than Ethereum chain. However, if you want to leverage on the utility of what POAP gives you with an Ethereum-based ecosystem of projects, you need to transfer the POAP from the chain that is basically gasless and pay the gas fees in order to bring it to the Ethereum ecosystem so that you can benefit from whatever utility that this POAP will be able to give you in terms of whitelists or other things. Or is that not it?
No, and you don't need to migrate anything.
Okay.
Whatever, when you input your Ethereum address, you will receive that POAP to your Ethereum address that certainly lives in the, when you mint it for free, in the Gnosis chain. But the utility of it is conserved even if you collector do not migrate it.
Okay.
What we're saying is that in order to mint any NFT, any newbie will have to understand that they will have to pay the gas fees and the fees of the price of the NFTs. But that's the differentiation that I want to do. POAP is simple, fun, free for the collector, and regular NFTs are not. And that's why that's why we've been minting our 3,800,000 POAP last weekend, and we should aim to go to the 10 millions by the end of the year. And it's going exponential. And yeah, I mean, the use cases are many, and it's fun and free. So what's not to like about it?
Yeah, definitely. And there's something that you touched on here, and I'd like to maybe dive a little bit more into it, is the user benefits are clear now. You have the memory aspect, you collect something that reminds you of a certain moment. You have the utility aspect, and then down the line with the different places that you attend or different memories that you collect, it could have a financial value, but you're not necessarily, a proponent of this right now. However, for the issuer, what does an issuer gain by creating POAPs for their community?
So there is two main aspects of it. Let's say the more crypto native communities, they all love POAP. their community asks for POAP, so there's some admins that call us and tell us, okay, our community asking for POAPs for any event. And as you said, Mo, it's not an event if there's no a POAP. It's not a POAP, but it's about engagement, right? People. It's about that little plus, that fun plus that you get by attending an event, a real life event or Discord event, whatever. I mean, it could be a Twitter space. And so whenever you're creating as an organizer an event, you tend to give some utility or some, you want to engage with that community in order to not have an empty room. So that helps for the engagement. And that's for a crypto native, but for communities that are not yet Web3 well versed, and for community owners that wants to introduce their communities into this metaverse aspect or new paradigm, well, POAP is a great way to engage in a form that is, again, super easy to explain, kind of frictionless, and that is like a first steps in order to have that community a bit more in this Web3 world. So common stuff that is kind of complicated get easy, the claiming of the Web3 asset, but then also on a Discord chat, you could provide some specific channel based on a POAP. So then the utility also makes it super clean and easy for everyone to understand. So it's a mix of engagement and utility.
It feels like this is the Web3 CRM. You can also, follow all the wallets that have a certain POAP, which means that these people kind of lived a certain experience or have been to a certain event, and kind of continue building utility of that kind of base layer of the community that you're able to segment through the ownership of such token, which is fascinating.
In that note, I can give you're completely right. And we have POAP has a native Android and iOS app that people can download, but it's not necessary to interact with the protocol. And in that app, whenever you collect a POAP, you can see other wallets, because of course we don't take any name, last name, picture, nor anything. You can see the other wallets that participate, and so you can start imagining whose that wallet is. And of course, if they have the ENS address with a proper name, it's easier. But yeah, it's I wouldn't say a CRM, because CRM, it's always really phone, face, name, and last name related. But I would say social graph, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the Web3 version of being able to link people together via a certain common thread, and that thread might be going to a certain event or being part of a certain community. And speaking of the issuers, and you were talking about marriages and birthdays. So let's say next week is my birthday. What should I do to provide my community with, or my friends actually, with a POAP?
Well, it's fairly easy. POAP, the last P of POAP means protocol, so everyone is free to use it. So you should connect to POAP.xyz website, read the FAQs, or connect with the POAP FR Twitter, and we'll give you instructions. So basically, you have to read some form of documentation that is pretty neat, follow some instructions, prepare some form of an artwork that should be saying that what happened in which day, and some text description to be to as metadata, and then follow the process, and in 24 to 48 hours you should be good to go if you follow the rules. So of course, no porn, and having some form of specification of a memory, right? If your birthday, it shouldn't be the whole year, it should be the birthday. And then you should be good to go, and the audit team will check that out. It would validate it, and then you should be able to provide those POAPs to your family and friends.
That's awesome. And I've got two questions there. First of all, do I have to pay anything if I do that?
You don't.
Okay, that's amazing. And second, what kind of media can I put in that NFT? So I can put like images, GIFs, videos, or is it limited to a certain type of, format?
For now, it's images and animations that are in the format of APNG. But I'm not that technical, but I fairly understand that APNG is very near GIF format. So there is some limitation on the weight of the file, and that's pretty much it. If I remember correctly, 2 megs should be good enough, and then it's more about the art than the art or the imagery than the format. Some specification of the actual date, why is it memorable, and especially it's up to you to think a couple of years from now, whenever your family and friends will see that POAP collection, why will they want to click on that little badge of yours? And yeah, it should be fun and good looking to see in order to engage a bit more 3 years from now.
Got it. So we've seen an incredible amount of adoption from brands. You've done, great things with Adidas and now the Australian Open. How do you see POAP onboarding brands in the next few months or years?
Well, that's a great question. The fact that we're here is because we tend to help historic brands that understand, that are crypto curious, how to engage into this new world. So the brands that you've told, of course, it happened, but we have a much more to onboard with, and so what I see is that the more curious will get there easier or faster, and then there is a lot of brands that need some proof, some time, some help, some support, and that's why we're here to help them. And with the different brands onboarding their communities, we'll start seeing how communities of fashion, communities of sports, communities of arts, communities of NFTs, how that all those POAPs will start creating a canvas of different persons and different tribes that are unrelated to the specific brand, right? So I might have the US Open POAP, but then I can also have the I don't know, Grand Palais POAP, and then that makes of me something different than just a fan of tennis player, right? So the more brands we onboard, the more rich those profiles will be, without having a proper last name, first name picture.
It's super
and that's
interesting.
I see.
Super interesting. So you now kind of give me a glimpse of the future of Web3 marketing. You can start, putting in place airdrops and initiatives based on the holdings of the different POAPs that people have in their wallets. And not even POAPs, any kind of token holdings, but you can start like kind of segmenting interests and profiles based on digital ownership. Which is kind of like wow, it gives you a wow effect in terms of how Web3 is currently evolving. And speaking of the future, it's time to move on to our last segment of the show. This is Glimpse into the Future. So, what are your thoughts on the future? Do you think that we're going to enter a world in which every concert ticket or match ticket is an NFT?
Sure. Yes. The quick answer is yes. I think that this Web3 paradigm is something that it's like a pendulum that will go further from Web2, where everything is centralized by those 10 mega brands, mega firms, mega corporations, namely the Microsoft, Googles, and Facebook of the world. And what this Ethereum blockchain, but also the other ones provide, is like some database that is linked everywhere, every time, to everybody. And with those use case and with that infrastructure, any email can be an NFT, any ticket concert can be a POAP, and the programmability of it will allow to create value, much more niche value than what is today useful for Facebook, Google, Apple of the world. So it will take some time. I think we are still really, really early. My estimation is that maybe 5 years from now, we'll get a bit more mainstream, and the use cases of the projects, the good project that will pass the test of time. So of course, Ledger and POAP. We'll start seeing new use cases, new programmatic use cases where new mechanism will be created, and it's a world that I'm eager to participate in.
Okay, and speaking of that, it's going to be some sort of a gradual evolution here. What are the future milestones that you're most excited about?
For POAP in particular,
Yes.
or what?
No, POAP in particular.
For POAP, well, the next milestone that we are completely aware that we need to get better is somehow help a bit more our issuers. Right now, as the explosion of POAP is completely crazy, we still have managed to put some difficulties on the issuer side in order to be able to control a bit more the quality of the drops. But that's something that should be better decentralized and better communicate, and we're working on it. As you guys can check the POAP official POAP Twitter, where the new discourse platform has been established. So that's a part of it. Then being able to prove the attendance on a more easier way, so a bit more with something that it's called a kiosk that is in beta right now, or even NFC tags that could be on places without any internet nor electricity. Any phone could be able to prove an attendance by tapping an NFC. And of course, then I'm more excited about the brands, onboarding brands and see what their community and their history, how that migrate to a programmatic world, and see all the new experiences that will be created, combined, and recycled to give a value where we thought it was impossible to create value.
Interesting. And where do you see POAP in 10 years once all of these milestones are hit?
Well, something that Patricio says, and I'm Patricio being the founder of POAP, and that I'm very kind with him, is that, again, the last piece up is protocol, right? So maybe, probably 10 years from now, maybe the concept of a POAP will be so established that there will not be a kind of a brand associated to it. It's going to be a protocol, like today is TCP/IP, and you don't talk that much about that.
Mhm.
But it's like the underlying infrastructure and protocol that allows for a million other use cases and applications. That's something that we wish to convert to be this protocol of attendance in the Web3. And of course, onboarding a lot of developers, onboarding a lot of new use cases in order for them to create the value that they need. So hopefully 10 years from now, POAP is, of course, a well-structured protocol and organization, but millions of application creator, and by application, I don't mean digital application, but just ideas creator can use POAP for their communities.
Yeah, that's an inspiring vision. And to tie off this amazing conversation, what is your favorite POAP?
Well, my favorite POAP is the first one. The
Which is?
first one I got, it was on HCC 2018. And that's when Patricio told me about this project, and when I felt in love completely, because I was already aware of those UX problems that the industry has, right? Gas price. Again, I hate gas fees. And whenever Patricio told me that I could get my first NFT just by putting my email, my Ethereum address, and it was as magical, as immortal, as fun. I got completely hooked, and today is that NFT, my first NFT, and I'm pretty much very, very proud of it, and I kind of flex about it.
Yeah, I'm a huge POAP fan as well, but I couldn't choose my favorite one. I have so many, and I look at them from time to time, and you get some sort of, it's kind of a segue into your memories. You keep remembering every single moment that you scanned this precious little QR code that gave you an amazing NFT, and it's always a very warm feeling looking at them, despite the fact that they're digital. It's something special. Lucas, thanks a lot for coming on the Ledger. It was great chatting with you, and I'll be looking forward, to the future and keep on collecting those POAPs everywhere I go.
Stay tuned, and you will have much more to collect.
That's it. Great conversation with Lucas from POAP. If you want to try out POAP, head to the Discover section in Ledger Live, and if you want to learn more, we've got a Ledger Academy article made just for you, so don't hesitate to check that out as well. This was On The Ledger from Paris with your host Moul Sayed. Till next time, take care. Au revoir. This content is provided for informational purposes only and is the sole expression of our opinion and should not be relied upon as legal, business, investment, or tax advice. Do your own research. Any loss or profit is your sole responsibility. Stay safe.